Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Meseches BECHOROS Daf Mem Gimel. We begin a brand new perek, which will focus on Kohanim, serving the Beis Hamikdash, and what disqualifies them from Avodah. Says the Mishnah, Mumen Elu. The previously discussed list of blemishes that apply to a bechor and disqualify the bechor from being offered as a korban apply equally to the kohen. So those blemishes, if found on a kohen, will disallow him from serving the Beis Hamikdash. Mumen elu bein kvuin, whether they're there to stay, permanent nature, bein ovrim, whether they're just passing, of a temporary nature. All those situations, paislim ba'adam, if found on the kohen, would disqualify him from serving the Beis Hamikdash. But it doesn't end there. There are more conditions that apply to a person and disqualify him. And that's based on the pasuk, which we will bring later on the bottom of the Yaman actually. It says, Kol ish asher boimum mizera aharon. And we learn, ish sheshave bezara shel. The kohen has to match, has to be similar to his brethren without any, unusual, outstanding features which sets him apart in a negative way. Although these aren't actual, blatant blemishes, but these variances set him apart, and he's no longer matching to his brethren, in which case it disqualifies him from korban. Yoser lein ba'adam. By the Adam, we have additional examples of disqualifying defects. And these will be explained in the Gemara. We have one called Hakiloin, Va'alafton, Va'makfon, V'sherosh Shokut, Uskifas, on which Rashi says, we'll have to wait for the Gemara, Mefarish b'Gemara. Uvaloi, Chatoros, or Chatoitros, suppose he has a hump on his back. Rabbi the Machshir, it's okay, it passes. V'chachamim, Poislan, they disqualify. Hakareach, he's fully bald, puzzle. It's also possible. How do you define the extent of the baldness which disqualifies? Kol she'en lo shita shel seir. He doesn't even have one complete row of hair. Ma'akefes me'ozen la'ozen, extending from one ear to the other. But if he does, it passes. Im yesh lo harei zeh kosher. Ask the Gemara, why is that? So that all the mumen that apply to the behema apply to the Adam. Va'ika yabelas. For example, we have yabelas, this growth. We don't find it in the pasuk within the list of mumen on the Adam. Rather, only by the behemoths. How do we know that it applies to the Adam too? Vesu. Another question, the other way around. You have a condition called dak, tevalal, in the eye. It's only mentioned among the mumen of the kohen. It's not mentioned by the behema. So how do we know to import it to the behema as well? Well, meilaf yalfi ma'adadi. The answer is, we learn one from the other. We compare lists. Whatever applies to the Adam applies to the behema, and vice versa. The sanya, as we learn in the following price. Ba'adam aleinemar yabelas. True, yabelas is not mentioned amongst the mumen of the kohen. And vice versa, we don't find the dak tevalal defects mentioned by the behema. So how do we know to mix and match? Menayin, how do we know to apply those of one by the other, to apply the ones by the other by the first? Basically, how do we know to mix and match the lists? Talmud Bavli, we have a pasuk. Garav, it says it once by the Adam. It says Karav by the behema. It says Yalevas by the Adam. And it says Yalefas by the behema. And that allows us to make a link, l'gzeros, to connect the Adam list with the behema list and to compare notes. Now, it must be that these words are deliberately extra and available to generate the gzeros. We know that gzeros can be challenged if you find, discerning differences between the two elements in the equation. But if it's a gzeros mufne, or mafni, then it's extra words. Extra words Rashi explains some way that it's as though the halacha was actually stated locally. That's what the extra word is indicating. So when we import halacha through this type of available, open gzera shava, you can't challenge it no matter what. Even if you find distinguishing, factors between the two elements of the equation. So we must say that in fact this gzera shava, comparing Adam to Behema and vice versa, is a gzera shava mufna. Otherwise, you're going to run into all kinds of challenges. Dila mafna, because otherwise, ikal mifra, you can challenge this linkage between Adam and Behema. You're trying to learn A from B and B from A? Well, not so simple. Adam Behema lo yalav. You can't really learn the guidelines of the Adam from the guidelines of Behema. Perhaps a Behema, in a way, has higher standards. The bar is higher. Shekain hikreatzmo krev al gam mizbeach. Contrast to the Kohen who's merely serving and working in the Mikdash. The Behema is the actual subject matter that's going to be offered on the Mizbeach. Perhaps the bar is higher. And likewise, Behema mi Adam lo yalfa. You can't learn the guidelines of animal blemishes from the guidelines of the Kohen blemishes. A person, a Kohen, has a greater scope of responsibilities and obligations and privileges and all kinds of mitzvahs. So perhaps his standards are different. Yeah, la'ai, correct, 100%. Afnuya mafni, we're speaking about extra words, which generate this irrefutable gzera shava. Where are the extra words? Why even bother referring to Garav? Just state Yalefes, which is sort of like a wart, a sort of a flab of rice skin. Without mentioning Garav. I'll figure it out on my own. Or my Yalefes lemi isa. Yalefes, which isn't repulsive, it's just a flab of, Havimum, it's still a mum. Garav, the mo is Garav, which is a dried pimple, which creates a crevice, and it's mos, it's repulsive. Like Koshkin, certainly, it's a mum. So why did the pasuk even mention Garav by the Behema and Garav by the Adam? Garav, the KosherTube. What's the point of Garav la'afnuye? To make it available for Gzera Shava, to allow us to connect Behema to Adam and vice versa, and to import the list in both directions. Says the Gemara, okay, granted, we're going to learn one from the other. So why doesn't the pasuk just print out one single list of women by one or the other and transfer it to the other? Why do we have a list on this side, a list on that side? Then we have to compare notes and compare some individual examples of defects. Just print out one by the other and learn everything to the Behema. Why doesn't the Torah just print out one list of women by one of these two? And of course, has to state Garav Yalefes on both sides to make that available to Gzera. And then we could just import back and forth. We can learn one from the other, says the Gemara. Ahai. Which one would you suggest should have the list? Because Adam, if it's by the Adam, I would say, yeah, call the possible Adam, possible Behema. True. All the defects that relate to the Adam relate to the Behema as well. But let's say you'll find me a situation which is not applicable to Adam. Joined hooves. Call it, right? The chutin, damaged, gums. And Rashi learns that the gums we're speaking are above the upper gums, without the teeth. So you see the gums. That's what Rashi learns here. The psul on the chutim we spoke about last parak. Rashi learns it's the area that doesn't have. It's the upper gums. In any case, the lesson about Adam, these aren't applicable by the Adam because Kolat doesn't have a hoof to be right. And Rashi says chutin is not an issue by the Adam because he has teeth, upper teeth and lower teeth, which sort of cover the gums. So damaged gums aren't really considered a mum. The lesson about Adam not applicable by the Adam. Okay, so it doesn't apply there. It's not going to apply by the Behema either, which learns from the Adam. Behema nami l'ifsul. So you really can't learn everything from the Adam, because again, you're going to come up short. Says the Gemara, okay, so what about because Rachmana kula Behema? Suppose the Torah would just state the whole list by the Behema and compel us to learn the Adam from Behema. Same issue. Havamina, I would think, called apostle Behema, apostle Ba'adam. Issues that pertain to Behema pertain to Adam. But let's say you have conditions that are unique to a human, like Gibein, missing his eyebrow, V'charum, has a recessed nose. The lesson Behema, these aren't applicable to Behema. But Adam normally lives slow. Perhaps it wouldn't disqualify an Adam either if we're going to be learning everything from Behema. So that compels the Torah to present two separate lists to cover conditions which are unique to the Adam and unique to the Behema. Okay, says the Gemara, I understand. But still, why do we need all those additional duplications? Here's a suggestion. Present the entire list by one of the other, let's say, Behema. Or be'adam, and the ones that don't apply to the Adam, the Torah should spell it out by the Behema, and vice versa. Or Behema, there's a gersa, those that don't apply to Behema, those that are unique to the Adam, the Torah should spell it out by the Adam. This way there's no omissions at all, right? Then we have those extra words on both sides of the equation, and the rest of the conditions can be just being learned one from the other. So granted, conditions which are unique to Adam have to be spelled out by the Adam. Unique to Behema, spelled out by the Behema. But the rest, which are merely shared, that apply on both sides, say it once and then import it. Elo, you're right. Technically you're right, but we have an interesting formula presented by Talmud Bavli that at times when the Torah is already compelled to repeat something on account of details that have to be highlighted, so sometimes it just repeats the entire discussion as a single unit. Likewise over here, since the Torah is compelled to go into a detailed list on both sides, because there are some that are exclusive to this and some that are unique to that. So it just presented the whole package as one. Ella, Ketana, Devei Rabbi Shmuel. Etana, Devei Rabbi Shmuel. Kol Parsha Shenever V'Nishnis. Sometimes you find a Parsha which was said at once and then repeated again. For what? V'Nishnis, Ella, B'Shvil Davish Chadash. Well, the purpose was to incorporate new elements which hadn't been discussed earlier. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rava, with another perspective on this question. Why does the Torah state 3 times that a mum is a disqualifying element? By the Bechor, by other Karbanos, and by the Kayin. Amar Rava, Lamali l'kas Rachmana mum ba'adam. Once by the Kayin, mum ba'kach, and once by other Karbanos, and mum ba'bechor. Tzricha, all 3 are needed. Because Rachmana mum ba'adam, if the Torah would only state that a person is unfit due to a mum, yeah, Shkenes Rabba mitzvahs. Since he has, a broad range of obligations and mitzvahs. So yeah, a mum disqualifies him, but a behema, who says that's affected by a mum? Now, Adam mibchor behema la'asi. What about just writing it by the Bechor and learning Adam from the Bechor? La'asi, that can't be learned from the behema. Shkenu atzim kargam mizbeach, as we said earlier. The behema has an advantage. It in itself is the subject matter of the carbon. So perhaps it runs different rules. Kachim mibchor la'asi. Likewise, you can't learn other karbanos from Bechor. Shekein kedusha semin rechem. Yeah, Bechor is affected by a mum, has a higher level of kedusha. It's naturally kaddish. It's born kaddish, as opposed to other karbanos, whose kedusha arrives later on, when designated by the owner. Likewise, Adam mikachim liyasi. If it only states mum by karbanos, I can't learn the kayin from there. Shekein hein atzman craven. Once again, because the carbon behema in itself is subject matter of carbon, has different standards. What about Bechor mikachim? Can I learn Bechor from other karbanos? No, you can't. Shekein kedusha semiruba. Rashi says the kedusha of the ordinary karbanos covers a greater scope You have all types of variations, chatas and asham and oila, right? And therefore you can't really learn Bechor from other karbanis. Okay, you're right. We attempted to learn one from one. It's not going to work. But maybe Teisa Chada Mitarti. Why all three? Leave one out and just learn one from the other two by way of sort of a common denominator equation. Okay, let's go through the options. Which one are you going to learn from? Which two? Leave out the Emun by the Bechor and learn from the other two, from the Adam and the Karban. No, they have an advantage. The Kedusha is more widespread, all-encompassing. There are many types of karbanis versus Bechor, which is a single type. The Kohen as well, as she says on the bottom line, Adam Kedushas Meruba b'mitzvahs, lots of mitzvahs. Also, when in contrast to Bechor, which is limited to the firstborn, the Kedusha of the Kohen is not limited to firstborn, and likewise the Kedusha of other karbanis. Okay, let's omit Mum by karbanis, and perhaps learn from Adam and Bechor. No, there's something unique about Kohen, whose Kedusha is natural. Likewise a Bechor, it's a natural Kedusha, as opposed to other karbanis which are generated by the owner. Finally, perhaps leave out the Mum by the Adam, learn from the Bechor and the Kachim. No, karbanis, Bechor have an advantage over the Adam, because they are subject matter of karban, as opposed to the Kohen is merely serving. So basically, all the attempts failed. We can't learn one from the other, not one from one, not one from two. Tzrichi, and that compels the Torah to spell it out separately by the Adam, by the Bechor, and the other karbanis. Now back to the Mishnah, which told us that in addition to these standard, blemishes that disqualify a Bechor, there are additional conditions, imperfections, which will disable the Kohen from doing the Avodah, as long as he has those conditions present. Yosar Lein Ba'adam. How do we know that there's an additional tier of imperfections by a Kohen that don't apply to a karban? Omar B'Yechon, the Makro, look at the pasuk, which introduces the concept of blemishes by the Kohen, and starts off by saying, Kol ish asher by mum, mizera arin, a Kohen which has a mum, and we learn from the wording of the pasuk that the starting point is ish sheshava bezara shalarin. We're speaking about a Kohen whose features resemble the rest, who matches the rest of his brethren. In this case, if he has a serious blemish, he's disqualified. But let's say he doesn't even get to first base. He's not shava bezara shalarin. That even without a serious blemish, he's disqualified. We turn Talmud base. So you have two levels of disqualifying blemishes: a blatant blemish, a real mum, and some sort of feature that stands out, which makes him dissimilar to the rest. Is there any difference between these two kohanim in terms of repercussion? Says the Gemara, Ika beinayu mishum achule avoida. Difference is whether they disqualify the avodah that they did. Let's say he went and did the avodah in his blemished state. So it depends what level of blemish we're talking. If it's a real muma, a serious blatant blemish, machal avodah, that disqualifies the avodah, renders it pasul. As the pasuk says, Mumbai, the kohen has a real mum, be careful, don't do chilul. But if it's merely the second level, that it's just it's not a true blemish, it's just an imperfection, which makes him stand out and dissimilar to the rest. That's not as severe as a real mum. If he did the avodah, it doesn't disqualify the avodah. But he violated the mitzvah asay, because the Torah tells us only if you're shava, then you're qualified, otherwise not. So you violated an asay. But the avodah still stands. Now there's actually a third tier, a third level of a disqualifying element called maras ayin. Appearance issues. His appearance is not fitting for avodah. So his eyelashes are completely gone, etc., as we're going to see in the upcoming sugi. That's even a lower level. So we have a proper mum, we have Einer Shava B'Zar Shalar, and we have just something called Maris Ayin, which is only Asam D'Rabbanan. So what's the difference between level 2 and level 3? Ma'ikabin She'Einer Shava B'Zar Shalarin, between level 2, this is similar to the rest of the Kayanim. Maris Ayin, level 3, which is just an appearance issue. Any difference? If it's Einer Shava B'Zar Shalarin, he's violated Asay if he does the Avodah in that state, but it's just Maris Ayin with the Rabbanon. He hasn't really violated Issa Deraisa, although he shouldn't be doing it with the Rabbanon. Okay, so we have 3 levels: Mum, Einoi Shava, and Maris Ayin. Okay, now we go back to the conditions mentioned in the Mishnah, which pertain to level 2, features which render him dissimilar to the rest of the Kehanim. One is a kiloin, which is the Dami Reishi La'achla. His head is misshaped. Appears like a lid of a barrel, Rashi says, which is sort of peaks like a teepee, wide on bottom, narrow on top. Something unusual. What is the lafta condition? The Dami Reishi Gad Galida the lifta. His head appears like a turnip head, which is again coned, but this time it's pointy on bottom and wide on top. Tana, the Brisa adds another condition to the list. If it's a neck situated smack in the middle of his head, typically the head protrudes more in the front than the back. In this case, the head is situated directly centered on the neck, which is unusual. What is a makavan? Mentioned in the Mishnah. His head appears like an axe, round in the back, pointing in the front, misshaped. Shakat, another example, that the front sort of angles down in a very distinct way. Uskifas, what's that? Ma'achirav. It appears like there's something missing in the back of his head, like missing a piece. Inshi, as people relate to this condition, and they say shakal pisoy, looks like a piece was missing, a glob. So sakifas is short. So shakal pisoy. Tana, the Brisa adds another couple examples. V'tzavar is shakut v'shamut. What does that mean? Shakut, the chavi mechva, his neck is sort of hiding in his head. His head is perched really low, and his neck looks like it's hiding. Shamut means arach v'shamut. It's the opposite. The neck is really long and thin, and his face is sort of like hanging over. Doesn't look very balanced. Ubalichat Torres. Mishnah continues with the humpback. Rabbi Yehuda says it's okay. Chacham say pas. Explains the Gemara, what's the nature of this hump? These be'etzim, if it's covering a bone, so it's a significant hump. Kuliam will plead the pas. All agree that disqualifies. He plead less be'etzim. The question if it's just skin or flesh without any bone. Mar savar. Ha'enoi shava b'zar shel aron. Chacham say, look, it's Einer Shava. It's something unique and different, which disqualifies it. Mar savar. Karkura de Bissa Ba'almur. But it says just a flap of skin. It's not significant enough to make him Einer Shava B'Zar Shel Aron. Hakareach Pas. Baldness also disqualifies. Amarav Shanu. When does the Mishnah disqualify him? Elo she'ein lo la'achrav. V'yesh lefanav. That's only when, you see, naturally the hair recedes from the front to the back. So it's more likely to have something left in the back than the front. So in this case, if he has nothing left in the back and just in the front, that's why it's possible, something really unusual. Aval, but let's say yesh la'achrav v'lefanov. He has a bit in the back and in the front. So even though there's nothing in the middle of his head, kosher, that's okay. So he has a full row in the back and also the front. That's v'koshkin sheyesh la'achrav v'lefanov. And certainly if it's only in the back and nothing in the front, that's certainly okay. Because as Rashi, in Rashi's words, he says, Tzvei havanoi. It's more of an acceptable appearance, b'sheyesh la'achrav le'lefanov, when there is some hair in the back without the front. Okay, so according to this version of Rava, if he has a bit in the back and the front, that's okay. If you could have now safe. But some had a different version of Rav, which pertains to the next line in the Mishnah, where we conclude, if he has something, a complete row of hair, it's okay. That's only true if it's located in the back and there's nothing in the front. Only then is it okay. But if he has it in the front and the back, in the middle is bald, that's possible. Possible. Because that's not pleasant looking. Certainly if he only has in the front and on the back, and certainly has nothing, of course, in these two cases, they're possible. Bald kehana, bananosin, dwarfs, vazav legonin, those whose eyes are tearing in a serious manner. Psulin, they're puzzle. Why? Because of level 2. We all know this already. Karchanin, bald, Tanina, we already discussed this in the Mishnah. Nanosin as well, Tanina, we discussed it later on. Zav legonin is strictly lashmina. Rebbe had to teach us about the third case, which was not mentioned in the Mishnah. Additionally, regarding the first two, the Karchanin and the Nanosim, he had to come tell us the extent of the defect. Perhaps those two will only be considered Maras Ayin issues, level 3. In which case, it's only a D'Rabbanan, there's no Mitzvah say that's being over. Hence, Rabbi Yechon comes and tells us, no, these belong on level 2. Einoi Shave Bezar Shalar. Now, why would we even think that it's level 3? Maras Ayin? Those are discussed openly in the Mishnah. Any condition which relates to level 3, Maras Ayin, is discussed openly as such. As we're going to see later in the Mishnah, he's missing his eyelashes. That's only possible with Maras Ayin. So in the previous Mishnah where it mentioned bald, it did not refer to Maras Ayin. Apparently, it's not because of Maras Ayin, it's because of level 2. Without Rabbi Yechon teaching us that. It's obvious. No, perhaps there's room to think that the conclusion of the Mishnah later, that Nashru Risei Einav is related to Maras Ayin, that reference to Maras Ayin goes back to all the previous cases. So basically, starting from Kereach Pasal in the first Mishnah all the way to the end of the next Mishnah is Maras Ayin, as opposed to the items before that, which was because of level 2. But starting from Kereach starts a new list of level 3. That's what I would think. So Rabbi Yechon comes and teaches otherwise. No, these occupy level 2. So as the Gemara, why would I even think so? Wherever we find in the Mishnah an example of Maras Ayin, wherever the Mishnah comes back to give us another example of Maras Ayin, it labels it as such. Like it says later, Shinav is missing his teeth. That's again level 3 possible Maras Ayin. So each one is labeled. Why would I think? Why would I confuse things? Ella, you're right. What's Rabbi Yechon's point? La'afukim ad-Tanya. He's teaching us that in fact Karchanin, Nanosin, etc. apostle on account of level 2, as opposed to Rabbi Yehuda who says it's only level 3. La'afukim ad-Sanya, the Sanya, HaKarchanin, Nanosin, Azal-Vagonin, Ksherim, Nater der Kasha. Well, Yamra Apostle, only reason why we say it's Apostle, El Maras Ayin. So Rabbi Yechon comes to undo that and say, look, we don't pass like the Brisa. Rather, it's level 2 because Eino Yishava Bezar Shalar. Manai Tana. Now this Brisa, which allows a bald Kayan to do Avodah Min HaTorah, Rabbi Yehuda, who's that? That's Rabbi Yehuda speaking. The son of Rabbi Yehuda Omer. We have a pasuk by the Avodah. V'orchu b'yaron hakehanim. So the extra Hakihanim is coming to tell you, L'Rabbis HaKarchon, even bald, are kosher b'nat-Torah. It's only an issue of appearance with the Rabbanan Mishamarasai. Continues the Mishnah. Ein lo gvinin. So we have a pasuk which speaks about a gibein, one of the blemishes. And it means like this. Ein lo gvinin, he's missing his eyebrows. Or he only has one on one eye. Ein lo gavin echad, the other one doesn't have any. Zehu gibein amar Torah, that's exactly the gibein in the Torah. Gibein and gvinin, right, the same thing. Rav Deisa Omer, shegvinin sheichman. The Torah refers to a fellow who has such long eyebrows that just rest over his eyes. Rabbi Chanin Matignas Omer says, no, gibein, that's a whole different condition. She'esh le'shnei gaben, u'shtei shadrois. Talking about a kohen who has a very crooked back, almost like folded. It looks like he has two backs and two spines. Ask the Gemara, v'gibein eile mashma? So it seems from the Mishnah that the word gibein in the Torah means he's missing. He's missing both eyebrows, or one eyebrow. So it's denoting lack. V'raminu b'abakashim brayso, that gibein means sheyesh legvinin harbe, has extra long eyebrows. Sorry, he has harbe means that it's extra big, meaning it extends. It connects. Both eyebrows extend. So according to the Brisa, the simple meaning of gibein means not lacking, but over, too much. And the Brisa continues, but let's say it's missing. Ein lo gvinin, he has no gvinin at all, or he only has one, or she'ein lo gvinin echad, over one eye. Menayin, how do we know that's a problem? That's from the eye. So according to the Brisa, gibein means too big. And the word oi covers the missing. Unlike the Mishnah, which seems to learn from gibein regarding missing. Amarava, it's all one and the same thing. Zeh midrash gibein. When the Mishnah says that lack is learned from gibein, it should just meant we learn it from oi gibein, from the extra oi. So again, gibein means extra big. Oi gibein means missing. Rav Deisa Omer, we're speaking about a double back. How can a person survive like that? Maybe the chai person can survive with a double back. We learned in the Beis HaMidrash, Hamapelas Bria, a woman who gives birth or miscarries this creature, she'esh la shnei gavin, v'shtei shadrois. She has double back, double spines. Does she have to treat it like a birth? Amarav bi'isha ein evlad. It's not considered an offspring. It's not viable. She doesn't have to observe the days of Tumah. But behem asar b'achila. If an animal gave birth to this, you can't eat it. It's like a dead entity. Apparently, a person cannot survive under these conditions. So how can we speak about a double back? Says the Gemara, it's an old question which was posed by Rav Shimi Bar Chia to who? LeRav. How could that be? But he says, in surprise, Shimi, you're the great Shimi, asking such a question. We don't mean literally, of course. Elok b'shadrasi akuma, speaking that a kohen doesn't literally have two backs. It means that his back is already crooked and misshapen. It appears like he has two backs. And that is a psul, although he can survive. Continues the Mishnah. Hecharam. Okay, so what's the charam? Which is possible. Speaking that he can paint both eyes as one, meaning there's no interruption. Typically, the bridge of the nose gets in the way, but here the bridge is recessed and sunken in. More blemishes that apply to the eyes. Both eyes are higher up than the norm, or lower than the norm, or one up and one down. One is really high, one is really low. Others learn based on the Rambam, even if one is out of place and one is normal. Another example of a defect in the eyes, let's say the eyes are on the right position, but they're heading in different directions. One is pointing up, one is pointing down. You can see the upper floor and the first floor at the same time. A fellow who has a hard time in sunlight. Vazagdon. If there's some mismatch in his eye, they don't appear like a pear in terms of color, in terms of... You want to see that in the Gemara? so they're mismatched. But Siron, his eyes are round. The risim, the eyelashes, have fallen out. Pasol Marasayin. So this last one here is Marasayin, as opposed to the previous ones, which are pasol because of level 2, because it's dissimilar to the other Kayana. Tanarabana, what's a charam? Shachaytmei shakua. We're speaking that his nose is recessed. Chaytmei soiled. What if he has an extra short nose? Chaytmei boilam. His nostrils are closed up. Chaytmei noitev. He has an extra long nose, which looks like it's drooping down. Minayin. What about these cases? Tamleim oy charam includes these. We speak out a recessed nose. It has to be completely recessed, so you can actually go from one eye to the other as you're painting it, as you're applying the eye color. Amrloi, Chacham responded flakta. That's a bit exaggerated. Even though you can't do it as one, meaning the bridge isn't totally recessed, but somewhat recessed is enough to be considered a charam and disqualifies. Okay, so again, we referred back to the movement of the behema, and we added more to the adam, because as we explained, by the adam we have 3 categories of disqualifying defects. One is the basic movement, the blatant, obvious movement that applied to behema, and some that are unique to adam as well. We have level 2, which is just because his features are unique and stand out. That's level 2. Now level 1, the mumen, are mechal lavoida if he does it. Level 2 is only mitzvah say, it's not mechal lavoida. Level 3, which is lacking in proper appearance, it's also m'drabanan shemar sign. We explained why the Torah had to go spell out print out the mumen by the adam and by the behemah, because you can't really not really meeting up in the same list. Or unique situations by the adam and unique elements by the behemah, and once the Torah is repeating it, it already goes through pretty much the whole list. We explained why the Torah had to specify that a mum disqualifies a person, a bechor and a korban, because each one is unique. You can't really learn one from the other. We discussed additional unique features, disqualifying features mentioned in the Brisa. We discussed deficiencies relating to eyebrows and to the defective eyes as well. Okay? Gesundheit. Hatzlacha Rabbah.